to start with you, Bob. If you could share a bit about the journey that Canisius has been on, why you started this journey, and why you partnered with Oculus IT. If you can give us just that overview.
How did we get started in this journey? So I came to Canisius roughly 2 years ago, and I was formerly the vice president for Finance Administration at College in New York as well. And we were able to do quite a bit, financially with the college, and we were able to turn some deficits into surpluses, which was, a good feat. And I think, when some of the team left CUCA, that we left it in a good place. When I came here, we're trying to accomplish the same thing. It's taking a little bit longer for us, to turn some small deficits now into, a balanced budget. And we're looking forward to fiscal year 29 when we're going to actually have a balanced budget. But that's, it's a real challenge, but it's something that, is very rewarding, to be able to be part of something like that. And, IT has, a big place in that as well. I think I was only here a month when, I really started talking strategically, with the president here. And one of the items that, repeatedly came up was the IT department that we had on campus. And I believe the IT department did a good job while they were here. With budget cuts and different things, we had a lot of professional development that kind of got put to the side. So unfortunately, part of the university's responsibility, trying to keep these people up to date really didn't happen, unfortunately. And I think we had a lot of people here that were here for a long time, but weren't further developed, into best practices and the newest in technology. They did a great job with the end users. So, the help desk, we basically didn't have a help desk. I wouldn't even call it that, because we really didn't use a lot of work orders or anything like that. It was more of everybody knew each other. I'll call Michelle up. Michelle will be in my office in 5 minutes to, fix my problem. That's what our campus was used to. But on the back end of things, which is the flip side for me anyways, I kind of look at the help desk being the endpoint users. And then, the back office is really keeping the servers going, keeping the systems going, keeping security going. That was really, being left out, as well as, planning strategically. And unfortunately, the senior leadership did not want to involve the current IT staff that was in place at the time. And to tell you the truth, I really can't blame them a lot, because they weren't using the language that was needed for people not familiar in IT to really have a full understanding of direction and the way that we want to go. So I think it must have been like July of 24 was the time that I started looking around at different options that the university could have. And, every time we looked around, Oculus name was coming up. And I know we used Oculus in the past for different one-offs that we needed help with here at the university before that. And the IT staff was well aware of Oculus as well. But, the conversations that we were having, they were just really exceeding, other service providers. And I think, one of the items that may come up is, the difference between a higher ed service provider that really focuses only on higher ed, and then other, service providers that would really incorporate, for-profit organizations as well as non-for-profit and universities. And I think in that world of, for-profit organizations, it's a little bit different, and things move much faster. And I think in order to work in non-for-profit, and especially university, and I think I can get a consensus probably from other CFOs that things don't really move as fast, and to really gain buy-in and different things, takes a while to develop. Being in higher ed pretty much my whole career, this is the only system that I know of. So, and it doesn't change across the universities that I've worked for, in that, you have to have patience when working with university faculty, university staff, and the whole 9 yards. And I think, that Oculus and I, were on the same page with this and that we were not going to move fast on anything. And it actually took us into November, I think, when we made the decision, through senior leadership that we were going to go this direction with Oculus. From that point, we worked on, scope of work and, master agreements. And we actually had the full assessment, from Oculus come in, I think it was in February or March. And I have to be honest, I was really impressed. They brought in a full team. Luckily, I had some open cubicles, in my suite that, were open. And I actually made some pretty good friends, with Oculus that whether they be overseas or in the US, they're people I can give a call to and talk to. And I say that honestly. From there, we developed, the assessment plan. And that's one thing, if you're going to go this direction, is to really make sure you put a lot into the assessment plan and really work with Oculus, because you have to have a full understanding of what you may be asking Oculus to do. Things that we probably could have done a little bit better was really get into the homegrown systems, I call them, where, we had actual programmers that, programmed little programs that, fed into our ERP or other systems. And, with that in mind, nothing was really documented. We had these programmers that knew what they were doing, they understood the program, but when they leave or when they left, then we're kind of on our own to figure out what they were trying to accomplish. So that's probably something, if I had to do it over, that I would really give a good focus to, is to really know exactly what, your university is doing, so that it can be passed on, whether you want that service or not included. At least you know exactly, the direction you're going. So that would be one thing. But then we actually brought Nathan in, I think it was in May, for the first visit to the campus. They Oculus let me interview Nathan, just to make sure, he was a good fit. And then we went from there. We went live in June 1st of 2025.